السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. حق لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه، ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن نبينا وحبيبنا محمدًا عبد الله ورسوله صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم، وصفيه من خلقه وخليله. نشهد بأنه قد بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة، وجعلها على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. أما بعد، يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه العزيز بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد. All praises and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We bear witness and attest that there is no deity or divinity truly worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And we bear witness that our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam is indeed the last of messengers, the last of prophets sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to all of mankind, sent with the message of justice, the message of peace, the message of a human brotherhood, the message of mercy and compassion to all of mankind, the message of Tawheed, and that is the message of Islam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send His peace and blessings upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and upon his family, and upon all the companions, and may Allah send it upon us. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is hard to discuss any other topic than Gaza. Of course, it's on our mind. Because as we speak, for the last 30 days, the apartheid occupation regime has been killing or maiming 400 children. Think about that. Every single day, 400 plus, 420, maybe 450 innocent Palestinian children are slaughtered in this bloodbath that the Israeli occupation has pushed on the Palestinian people in Gaza. These are kids who had nothing to do and have nothing to do with any politics. They don't even know politics. And the sad thing is the rest of the world is watching, mostly silently, acting like they don't see what is happening. And some, including our own genocidal president, Biden, a war criminal now, is actually aiding and abetting that genocide. He's not only cheering for it, as many other Western leaders and some corrupt Arab dictators are doing. Some do it privately, some do it openly, but he's actually openly sending our tax money to send weapons and missiles to Israel, as he knows very well those missiles are killing those Palestinian children. And I ask you, for you, as Muslims, we're watching too, and we're witnessing that. So the question is, what is our role? I'm not going to talk about how important Palestine it is to the Ummah, to the Muslim world, because you know that. I'm going to talk about what do we do when we witness injustice. The Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam said, من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه وإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. The Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام said, whoever amongst you witnesses injustice, wrong, evil, falsehood, then they have an obligation to change it with their hand. Meaning you do something to stop it. You don't just sit and watch. And this injustice is about anybody. It doesn't have to be, the victim doesn't have to be a Muslim. Doesn't have to be someone who speaks your language or has your skin color. Any injustice, you witness it. As a Muslim, you have the obligation to stop it. If you can't, he said, فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ if it is for some reason you're thousands of miles away, you can't do it, maybe you're limited in resources, in knowledge and experience, then he said, at least speak against it. And then if you can't, I think he was talking about if you lived in the Arab world, alayhi salatu wasalam, then at least hate it in your heart. In your heart. Don't get desensitized. Don't say, I'm too tired of seeing these messages on social media. Don't say, well, I can't stand it anymore. Because if you think you cannot stand it, ask yourself, how are the parents of those children cut into pieces dealing with it? How are the people receiving the missiles dealing with it? Don't say, I'm tired. You have a responsibility to do something to end it. And honestly, there's no people in the world today besides the brave people and the courageous people of Gaza who can do more to end this injustice, more than American Muslims. Because we're accomplices. The minute we pay taxes, and we all pay taxes. So we have so much to do to stop it. And there is no country in the world that has participated and partnered in this crime more than our own country over the last 75 years. So we have a responsibility, just as human beings. Forget about being Muslim, forget about anything else. But also as Muslims we have another responsibility. مثل المؤمنين بتوادهم أو في توادهم وتراحمهم وتعاطفهم كمثل الجسد الواحد كما أخبرنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا اشتكى منه عضو تداعى له سائر الجسد بالسهر والحمى. There's another obligation for us being Muslims. There's another bond. He said the example of the believers in their love, in their mercy, in their sympathy to one another is like the example of one body. If one organ, one part of this body is aching, the rest of the body comes to its help. So we have a responsibility as Muslims. What are our responsibility? What is our role? First is not to despair. Alhamdulillah ta'ala, we are an ummah of faith, of iman. An ummah that knows that everything comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was in charge of all things, is in charge of all things, and will always be in charge of all things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Qahhar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Almighty who can defeat oppressors. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Adl, the most just. And those who engage in injustice will face Allah's justice in this dunya as they will get it in the akhirah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests. And Allah is putting our brothers and sisters in Gaza at a difficult test, but also we are at a test. Test on how we are going to react. What is Allah's wisdom? We don't always see it. What was Allah's wisdom when the Muslims were defeated in Uhud? We didn't see it at that time. Later on we knew what happened. What was Allah's wisdom when the Hudaybiyah treaty was signed? A defeat for the Muslims, at least in appearance. And then it turned out to be the biggest victory for Muslims that they could ever happen and hope to happen. What is Allah's wisdom to see the Ummah, at least from a leadership perspective, silent as they watch brothers and sisters in Gaza defending the honor of the Ummah, not the honor of Gaza. Not the honor of Gaza has enough honor to distribute for the rest of the world. Gaza doesn't need to defend its honor. We need to defend our honor. And Gaza decided to pay the price for the lack of self-respect for this Ummah. Gaza decided to awaken the Ummah with its blood, with its children, with its men, with its elderly, with its women, with its livelihood. Gaza is paying the price for us being asleep for so many years and decades. So let's at least appreciate that price and wake up to do what we can to defend what is left of the honor of the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Ummah of Izzah, the Ummah of strength, the Ummah of unity, the Ummah of standing for the dignity of mankind, let alone the dignity of our own brothers and sisters and the dignity of our Ummah, my dear brothers and sisters. So be steadfast. Don't lose faith, because no believer will ever lose faith. No believer will ever lose trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just do your part. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised us, In tansurullaha yansurkum. If you give support to what Allah had asked you to give support, to His religion, to His faith, to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala imposed on us and delivered to us through Muhammad alayhi salam, Allah has promised to give support and victory. So do your part of the equation and the rest will come. This is a promise not from me. It's the promise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as believers, alhamdulillah ta'ala, wallahi I can speak for myself. Wallahi, by Allah, I have no doubt on my mind that the people of Palestine will be victorious. Wallahi, I have no doubt on my mind. The only thing I worry about is, where were we when that victory happens? Do we stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say we gave support and nusrah to our brothers and sisters, or were we spectators? Or were we in a different world, had no clue what is going on? That is the only thing I worry about. And may Allah make us among those who stand where we should be standing, on the side of the oppressed, on the side of fighting and defending the honor of every person in Gaza and in Palestine and the rest of the world today, in front of this arrogant, barbaric, vicious Zionist ideology that has no respect for humanity, no respect for humankind, no respect for children. It is one of the worst things we're dealing with in this current time of ours. today as we see crimes being committed. Second thing you have to do, my dear brothers and sisters, is be ready to support humanitarian aid when the border is open. It is not there yet. And I say that as much as I want to see billions of dollars. And I know billions of dollars will come, inshallah, from the Muslim Ummah, from governments and so on. But at this point, our focus, unfortunately, is not yet humanitarian, because Israel is not even allowing humanitarian aid to come. The few trucks that were allowed in were allowed to bring some body bags, some shrouds to bury their dead. Maybe a few boxes of some medicine and so on. That's it. Gaza needs over 400, maybe 500 trucks every day to feed the 2 million people there, 2.3. They barely allowed, over the last several weeks, 20. Not enough for the body bags they're sending. But be ready when the time comes and the gates and the borders are open, then we all have to generously give. At this point, the time is the time of activism to make a change. The next thing you have to do, and I have to do, is be informed. Be informed. It is not acceptable for today, for any human being, let alone for a Muslim who has a connection to this place, to these people. It is not acceptable for you not to be informed, or to be worse, misinformed. If your source of information is mainstream media, you've been tricking yourself all these years. Shut it down completely. Mainstream media is doing the job of the occupation. Get the sources from other media sources, and there's no shortage. Get the sources, get the information from people on the ground, from Gaza, sharing day by day the details of what is happening. Talk to brothers and sisters who are from Palestine, from Gaza, and they will direct you to where you can get your information. Get on the CARE list, the AMP list, the MAST list. Get on the Jewish Voice for Peace list, so you can get information about what is happening, not the one that wants to defeat you, the one that wants to marginalize you, the one that wants to intimidate you from speaking up and engaging. Because you owe it to yourself and to your ummah. When your classmates, when your co-workers, when your neighbors bring up the topic, or when you bring it up, to educate them, to let them know what is happening. The people of Gaza are being denied the ability to tell their story. Israel is cutting off internet, cell phones, international media, international observers. So be their voice. Share the stories with others. Then share a response to the lies and the myth that they continue to spread in order to justify this ongoing mass murder. There are myth, lies that they keep repeating, and mainstream media and idiotic, excuse my language, politicians repeat in order to justify the dehumanization of the Palestinian people and the genocide being imposed and executed on them. The first, hypocrisy. Suddenly, after being silent for 75 years, every politician woke up and their humanity, mashallah, awakened on October 7th. For 75 years, the Palestinians have been suffering brutality, death, murder. Nobody bothered to issue a statement. Not a president, not a city council member, not a school district. Nobody. The Palestinians are invisible. And when Israel faces a fraction of the violence that it has been inflicting on the Palestinians, everybody's a humanity, subhanallah. Everybody became a world peace activist. And yes, as Muslims, we mourn every innocent death. No Muslim rejoices to see any kid suffering. Wallahi, no Muslim. I know that. Even those who are angry at one moment, you ask them, you talk to them, said, Wallahi, no Muslim would rejoice to see an innocent person, a child or woman, or killed, whether they're Jewish or Muslim or Christian or Israeli or Palestinian. No Muslim will rejoice. But are the Palestinian children less worthy of our solidarity and mourning and appreciation than the Jewish ones or the Israeli ones? That is the hypocrisy we need to expose our politicians, who suddenly remember their humanity for one but not the other. For them, the dehumanization of the Palestinians exposes the double standard of the West in general, which we've known. driven by white supremacy, driven by Islamophobia, driven by their racism, driven by Zionism, you name it. All of these are factors of why they keep watching the death of thousands of Palestinians and not feel moved in any way. It is all of the long history of all of that. Add to it the misinformation. The second lie is the lie of the unprovoked attack of October 7th. If I hear that term again, I'll go crazy. Every media outlet, every politician. Israel was subjected to an unprovoked attack. Unprovoked in what dictionary? Is a 75-year occupation and dispossession of the Palestinian people, does it count as a provocation? Are the checkpoints, is the apartheid regime, is the murder and the wounding and the injuring of Palestinians every single day for the last 75 years? The mistreatment of Palestinians at the checkpoint, the stealing of their land to build racist settlements for Jews only, roads for Jews only, a lot of times funded by our tax money. Is that provocation? When somebody says it's unprovoked, I say, what would you do if China or Russia or Mexico decides to put a siege on our country and start grabbing our land and put checkpoints in LA and start beating up people and shooting people and impose some apartheid regime? What would you call that provocation? Gaza itself has been subjected to one of the worst sieges in recent times. 17 years of one of the most inhumane, brutal sieges. No food, no water, no control, no movement, control of the air, control of the borders, control of the naval access. Everything. Gaza has been turned, what human rights advocates say, into the largest open-air prison in the world. And now they're changing that. They're saying Gaza has turned into the largest extermination camp in recent times. Basically, people of Gaza, 2.3 million people, the most densely populated area in the world, are fish in a bowl, in a fish bowl. And then you have these sadistic Zionist Israelis shooting at them and telling them what? Leave. Leave to where? Leave to where? You have not allowed them any place to leave. You don't allow a single person to leave. And they tell them to leave. The third lie that is repeated quite often, all the time, is that this is a war on Hamas, not a war on the Palestinians. This is actually one of the biggest lies in recent history. If the war is on Hamas, then why is Israel bombarding every residential tower in Gaza? Hospitals, mosques, churches, refugee centers, shelters, wiping out complete neighborhoods. 60-70% of Gaza has been destroyed. The infrastructure is destroyed. Electricity, gas, cell phones. That's not Hamas. They know where Hamas is, they can go and fight them. But what it is a collective punishment against an entire population. Collective punishment, that's what it is. Something the fascists, the Nazis, Russia, they all do. At least own it up. Own up to this criminal behavior that it commits. If Hamas is the target, then why are so far 10,000 Palestinians, mostly civilians, killed, including 4,000 children, 2,500 women? And it doesn't mean that the rest are armed. Actually, a lot of them elderly, disabled, unarmed men. We've all seen the images. Many of them. There's no shortage of tens of thousands of these images to prove. If that is the purpose, then maybe we can ask, were the Palestinians better off before Hamas or PLO? Treatment was as vicious, as barbaric by Israelis as it is when Hamas started in 1987. Were the Palestinians living in a resort before that? Well, what about the Palestinians who live in the West Bank where Hamas does not even rule? Their land is taken away from them. Settlers roam around their land and shoot them like hunting trips. The Israeli checkpoints humiliate and beat up Palestinians. it is the same whatever it is. It has absolutely nothing to do with the Palestinians, with their organizations. It is about fulfilling a settler colonial project called Zionism. And the core of that settler colonial project is the extermination and removal and the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. And Israel has been doing a great job at it since its day one, from the Nakba until today. It's not a rhetorical thing. It is what it requires, whether there is a project. The next lie that's important for us to be aware of so we can explain when we talk to our co-workers and friends and neighbors is that Israel has the right to self-defense. And the answer is no. Israel does not have the right to self-defense because Israel is the occupier. No occupier has the right to self-defense. Russia and Ukraine does not have the right to self-defense because Russia is an occupier. Germany, Nazi Germany, when it occupied Poland or France or Holland, it did not have the right to self-defense. Not in any law, not in any logic except the twisted logic of the Zionist. No occupier has a self-right to defense. Or, you know who has the right to self-defense? The occupied. And that includes the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people as a people under occupation have, under international law, moral law, every human intelligence law, the right to defend themselves against the brutal, aggressive, inhumane occupation. And if the Israelis don't like to see a resistance, it's very simple. End your occupation. And it's important for us to know that and not shy away from that. Yes, we are an ummah of peace. We are an ummah of peace. We are a peaceful ummah. We would never allow transgression. We will stand against any form of aggression or transgression committed by a Muslim. But also, we're also not a pacifist ummah. An ummah that believes that every nation, Muslims or otherwise, under attack, under occupation, have the right to defend themselves. And it's important for us to know that. And last but not least of the lies, they tell us this is a complicated conflict. A complicated conflict. Number one, it's not even a conflict. It's a one-way war of extermination by the occupier against the indigenous people. Number two, it is not that complicated. It's actually one of the simplest conflict, if you want to call that a conflict. Because it's rooted in one thing, occupation and apartheid policies. You want to end it? You want to defuse it? Very, very simple. End the occupation and end the apartheid system. And that's it. There will be peace. There won't be Hamas. There won't be PLO. There won't be hatred towards the Israelis. There won't be anybody suffering. Not Israelis, not Palestinians. All it takes is end this brutal, ugly occupation that is unfortunately funded by our tax money. What else do we have to do, my dear brothers and sisters? And I will conclude very briefly. Challenge Islamophobia, because we've witnessed today a growing rise of Islamophobia riding on the wave of the violence that is happening in Gaza or against the people of Gaza. We hear politicians today, media outlets, pushing attacks on Islam. We heard the 3 board members of the Orange County Board of Supervisors, blaming Islam for the violence that exists in Gaza. Not Israel, not the occupation, subhanAllah, Islam for that. And we're hearing more and more of that. Targeting our Muslim youth, targeting employees who are Muslims, targeting any Muslim who dares to express any form of solidarity with the rights of the Palestinians. And we see the attacks always using Islam. So keep an eye, report any incidents to CARE, and also defend. Don't be shy to defend. The next action we have to do is lobby our elected officials, especially members of Congress, for a ceasefire. That bloodbath of children has to stop. So there are a few members of Congress, 18, 19 of them, now the number I think is closer to 22, who have introduced a resolution, HR 786, in Congress that calls for a ceasefire. Believe it or not, calling for a ceasefire today in America is deemed controversial or anti-Semitic, subhanAllah. This is what it is. This is the strange time we live in. But don't shy away. Call for a ceasefire, because every life is sacred. Every life deserves to be protected, especially the children. So call your members of Congress, have a sit-in, follow up on CARES, make sure you're on a CARE email list to know where to go. Participate in protests. MashaAllah, our community here, a lot of activists from Corona, Muslims and otherwise, are organizing visits to Congressman Ken Calvert, the local congressperson, and there will be a rally near City Hall at 3:30. Peaceful rally where we can tell fellow members and residents of Corona about what is happening. Try to participate if you can make it, because we need to send a message that the life of the children deserve protecting. And make sure you sign up on CARES list to get, there's a resource guide that we prepared that tells you how to speak to your schools. We have school districts expressing solidarity with Israel, subhanAllah, in ways that fuels hatred towards Palestinian, Arab, Muslim, brown kids at these schools. So make sure you load or download the resource guide. It gives you template letters, how to talk to your employer, to your co-workers, what are the talking points for your school, how to contact your elected officials to seek an action alert, to respond, asking them to participate or support the ceasefire. Get on the CARE website, CARE California or CARE Los Angeles. And last but not least, my dear brothers and sisters, do not be intimidated. They're gonna try to scare you. They're gonna falsely say, if you speak for the Palestinian rights, you are defending Hamas or terrorism or this group. We stand by the Palestinian people and unequivocally will continue to do that. This is not about Hamas, not about PLO, this is about the Palestinian people and their right to be free on their own land. So don't get intimidated. They're gonna tell you by speaking up for the rights of the Palestinians, you are anti-Semitic for criticizing Israel. I tell them you are anti-Semitic if you claim that dispossessing other people, committing mass murder, committing a genocide is somehow related to the Jewish religion. And for us to criticize it, we become anti-Semitic. This has nothing to do with Judaism. This is about Zionism. And by the way, many of the voices, the brave voices defending the rights of the Palestinians in America today are actually brave, principled Jewish voices in America, such as groups as Jewish Voice for Peace, If Not Now, and many, tens of thousands of activists. So be vocal, don't be afraid, don't let them intimidate you, and also don't fall in their trap. They will engage in Islamophobia. They're going to engage in hate speech, but we're Muslims. We do things for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in ways that please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will not engage in racism. We will not engage in saying things that will make us look bad, or more importantly, make the people, the brave, honorable people of Gaza look bad. The cause of Palestine is a noble, honorable cause. Let's make sure we don't taint it with our anger. Yes, we're passionate and we're angry, but we watch what we say, what you post. Use your social media to educate, to share, to post, to let people know what's going on. But as I said, be responsible. For legal reasons, but more importantly, for moral reasons, because we're Muslims and people are watching. How do Muslims respond when they are being victimized? And that in itself is da'wah. When people see, alhamdulillah, that even when we are wronged, we stick to Allah's rules, that we don't transgress. We don't go and blame a whole race or a whole religion, or we blame the oppressors and the aggressors. Alhamdulillah, that is our behavior. So keep that in mind and continue to be brave. Continue to be brave, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes in the Holy Quran, those الَّذِينَ قَالَ لَهُمُ النَّاسُ إِنَّ النَّاسَ قَدْ جَمَعُوا لَكُمْ فَاخْشَوْهُمْ فَزَادَهُمْ إِيمَانًا وَقَالُوا حَسْبُنَا اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. It is, Allah describes the people, He said, those to whom the people said, the people have mobilized against you. So fear them. But it increased them in faith. And they said, Allah is enough for us. He is the excellent protector. SubhanAllah, it's almost like I hear the voices of the people of Gaza. The world told them, everybody in the world has ganged up against you. And their answer is, فَزَادَهُمْ إِيمَانًا. SubhanAllah. What we're witnessing from the people of Gaza is something we used to read about and we used to think it's exaggerations in history. We used to think this is myth. It can be that there are people with such strength of iman and courage. Subhanallah. The people of Gaza reminded us that these stories are actually true. There comes times when some people remind us that yes, a people with izzah, with dignity, will do anything and everything to defend their honor. There are things in life that are worth sacrificing everything for, including your life, your land, what is it? To defend your honor and the honor of your loved one. May Allah give them a steadfast. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them victory. May Allah accept their dead ones as martyrs. May Allah grant the wounded ones and the injured ones, inshallah, grant them shifa. And may Allah grant us the wisdom, the ability, the courage to stand by them and every oppressed person in the world. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه فيا فوز المستغفرين. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. عباد الله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد كما صليت وسلمت وباركت على سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. Inshallah, before we make dua, on your way out, you're going to see the care booth outside. Please pick up the resource guide so it can tell you on how you can support, inshallah. اللهم يا ناصر المظلومين انصر إخواننا في غزة. اللهم انصر من نصرهم واخذل من خذلهم. اللهم يا أرحم الراحمين ارحم إخواننا في غزة وتقبل موتاهم شهداء المعتدين. اللهم من أراد بأهل غزة خيرا فوفقه إلى كل خير، ومن أراد بهم شرا أو ضرا فخذه أخذ عزيز مقتدر. اللهم أسألك أن توحد صفوف إخواننا في فلسطين وفي العالم الإسلامي جميعا بين الأمة الإسلامية. اللهم ألف بين قلوبنا يا أكرم الأكرمين ووحد صفوفنا وألف بين قلوبنا وثبت أقدام في غزة على أعدائك أعداء الدين. اللهم إنا داعون فتقبل منا دعاءنا. اللهم أن نشكو إليك ضعف قوتنا وقلة حيلتنا وهواننا على الناس. اللهم أن نشكو إليك ضعف قوتنا وقلة حيلتنا وضعفنا وهواننا على الناس. اللهم لم يكن بك غضب علينا فلا نبالي. اللهم أن لم يكن بك غضب علينا فلا نبالي. يا الله يا الله نسألك بأسمائك الحسنى وصفاتك العلى يا الله أن تنصر إخواننا في فلسطين. اللهم انصر إخواننا في غزة وثبت أقدامهم يا أكرم الأكرمين. اللهم ارزقهم صبرا، اللهم ارزقهم صبرا. اللهم هون عليهم مصابهم وهون علينا مصابنا يا أكرم الأكرمين. اللهم ارزقنا بنصر مؤزر يشفي صدور المؤمنين. اللهم عليك بالمعتدين، اللهم دمر كيدهم ورده عليهم يا أكرم الأكرمين. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
حقا لا إله إلا الله. استووا اعتدلوا أثابنا وأثابكم الله. صووا الصفوف وسدوا الفرج وصلوا صلاة مضيع. Make the line straight, pray in humbleness and make dua for yourself, your family and all the oppressed, and especially our brothers and sisters in Gaza, inshallah, especially when you are making your sujood. Allahu Akbar. Subhanahu. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. وقضينا إلى بني إسرائيل في الكتاب لتفسدن في الأرض مرتين ولتعلن علوا كبيرا فإذا جاء وعد أولاهما بعثنا عليكم عبادا لنا أولي بأس شديد فجاسوا خلال الديار وكان وعدا مفعولا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم ثم رددنا لكم الكرة عليهم وأمددناكم بأموال وبنين وجعلناكم أكثر نفيرا إن أحسنتم أحسنتم لأنفسكم وإن أسأتم فلها فإذا جاء وعد الآخرة ليسوءوا وجوهكم وليدخلوا المسجد كما دخلوه أول مرة وليتبروا ما علوا تتبيرا عسى ربكم أن يرحمكم وإن عدتم عدنا وجعلنا جهنم للكافرين حصيرا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. حمدا طيبا. الله أكبر. سبحان الله. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله وبارك على محمد إنك لا تخلف الميعاد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. استغفر الله. استغفر الله. اللهم أنت السلام.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jummah Mubarak, everybody. So there is an opportunity today at 3:30 at City Hall in Corona if you want to go join the protest against the Israeli government, I guess. And also tomorrow there is one in Anaheim. But for us here, daylight savings time is this Sunday, Saturday night, Sunday morning. Set your clocks 1 hour back. The new Salah time, very important, on Fajr starting Sunday will be at 5:30. Asr will be, there's a big difference here, 3:30, and Isha will be at 7:45. Also, next Jummah, the first khutbah is at 12:20. So it's much earlier. Of course, the time will change. So it's, the second khutbah will be at 1:30. There is, tonight there is an elementary program, kindness and sharing, middle school program, Battle of Badr, college and high school kids will learn about justice and training. So have your kids here, inshallah. This is a great place to be. Tomorrow, Sheikh Hassan Saleh will have a Quran night after Maghrib here in the main musalla. Please pray for our brother Aziz Bhai, who is going through a surgery, and sister Shahana Barkat, who just went through surgery today, and Mahmoush Ahmed. Please pray for them so they get full recovery, inshallah, and Shifa Kamila. And please pray for our brother in Morocco, Muhammad, who passed away yesterday, inshallah. So pray for them.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. If Sister Fatima Hilal, if you're listening to this, we found your telephone, a cell phone with your ID and everything. The phone will be at the lunch table. Please go see Brother Bassam. Sister Fatima Hilal, we found your phone. Please see Brother Bassam at the lunch table. The other thing is inshallah, we are looking for the young professionals to participate in our projects here at ISCN. So if you are interested, if you're able, go sign up for that. And also, we will send out a text information to sign up there also. And don't forget to visit the care table outside. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalam.